These are 3 of Ben 10 Classic's saddest episodes of all time, the third one being Perfect Day. The episode starts with Ben waking up and noticing that the Omnitrix is acting kind of weird. But when he sees Gwen fall out of bed, he thinks it's going to be an awesome day. And guess what? He's right.
Something tells me this is gonna be a good day.
Max surprises them with a normal breakfast, which is pretty rare since they're always on the road or fighting aliens. After breakfast, Ben and Gwen try to figure out something fun to do, and Gwen suggests they check out the nearby tar pits. It sounds like a cool idea, but just when they're about to leave, a school bus full of cheerleaders shows up and one of its tires blows out. Things get even crazier when 66 and Volcanus, 2 alien bad guys, suddenly arrive. But Ben is ready. He transforms into Diamond Head and gets into action. As Diamond Head, Ben fights off the 2 aliens, but then Diamond Head gets hit really hard by Volcanus and Gwen gets super worried, which makes Ben start to think something's not right. Volcanus even throws the bus, but Diamond Head catches it with a diamond shield, so none of the cheerleaders get hurt. Ben helps Gwen trap Volcanus in a dumpster using magic, shrinking him down to the size of a bottle cap. Just when they think they've won, 66 grabs one of the cheerleaders as a hostage. Diamond Head quickly shoots him and he lets her go. With her safe, Ben shoots a shard into 66's jetpack, causing him to crash into one of the tar pits. After the fight, Ben uses another diamond shield to fix the bus tire, and the cheerleaders cheer him on as a hero. But just before the bus drives away, Ben spots Kai Green among the girls, which makes him feel all weird inside.
Kai?
Didn't she break your heart after we beat that werewolf in the desert?
Later, Max takes Ben and Gwen to pizza and play, and they have a blast. They play games, eat pizza, and just have fun like normal kids, which is something they don't get to do very often. After they finish, Ben shows Max the Omnitrix, which is still acting funny, but Max tells him not to worry about it. Then, as they're driving, a truck passes by, and it drops a bunch of boxes filled with a new Sumo Slammers video game that isn't even out yet. Ben is super excited and wants to keep one, but Max says it's okay since the truck is long gone. Ben is having the perfect day, but the Omnitrix is still acting up, and Ben starts to wonder if everything is really as good as it seems.
Could this day get any better?
Gwen and Max offer to make Ben some snacks while he plays the new game at their campsite, but Ben starts to get a little suspicious about why they're being so nice. Suddenly, another Max and Gwen show up and tell Ben it's time to go hero, but he just keeps playing. The real Max and Gwen come out and start fighting their doubles. Gwen calls for Ben's help, but he's too busy with his game. When Ben finally notices the fight, he sees that everyone is claiming the others are fake. Max and Gwen grab Ben and take off in the rust bucket, explaining that the perfect day was just a trick set up by the Forever Knights to distract him so they could steal the Omnitrix. Ben doesn't want to believe it because who would forget about something as crazy as the Forever Knights trying to kidnap you? But just when Max is about to explain, a military jeep crashes into them, splitting the rust bucket in half. This is where it gets even sadder. Ben realizes that the people he loves might not be real and that his perfect day is just a big mean trick. Latinta Steele and his troopers come out of the jeep and accuse Max and Gwen of being Limax aliens working for Vilgax. Max and Gwen say that Steele is lying, but then Vilgax shows up and Ben transforms into 4 Arms to fight him. 4 Arms throws Vilgax into his ship, which explodes, but Vilgax opens a null void portal. 4 Arms takes the null void projector and makes Vilgax fall in. Steele tells 4 Arms to use the projector on Max and Gwen, but Gwen points out that Vilgax would have tried to take the Omnitrix before sending Ben to the null void. Realizing she's right, 4 Arms sends Steele's troopers into the null void instead. Then Steele turns into Enoch and Max and Gwen free themselves. But 4 Arms is surrounded by Forever Knights. Enoch tells Ben that making him believe he was having a perfect day was all part of the plan to steal the Omnitrix. Everything around them changes, and 4 Arms turns back into Ben. Ben and his family run, but Enoch sends them into Ben's worst nightmare, school. Ben freaks out, begging Enoch to let him out, while Gwen explains that the Forever Knights used a dream machine to trick Ben, but Max was able to hack into it so he and Gwen could help. Max warns that if they don't escape before the Omnitrix is removed, they'll all be stuck in the dream forever. They run into Kevin, who turns into Kevin 11. Kevin starts breaking in, so Ben quickly answers every question with C, and a secret passage opens. They run into troll versions of Cash and JT, who try to grab Max and Gwen. Ben tries to transform into Heat Blast, but instead he turns into Gray Matter. Using his small size and smarts, Gray Matter helps Gwen free Max, and they escape. Gray Matter figures out that the exit is in his gym locker and turns back into Ben. But just when they think they're safe, Enoch, Kevin, 66, Cash, and JT show up. That's when Ben realizes he can control his dream and transforms into Ultra Ben, turning Max and Gwen into superheroes too. Ultra Ben defeats Kevin and Max beats up the bullies. Ultra Ben flies into space and throws Enoch into the sun. Finally, Enoch wakes up from the dream machine, and so does Ben. Ben gets up and transforms into XLR8. XLR8 fights the Forever Knights and sends Enoch back into the dream machine, but it malfunctions and Ben turns back into himself. Enoch manages to remove the Omnitrix from Ben and puts it on himself, but it turns out this was all still part of Enoch's dream. In reality, XLR8 had trapped him in the dream machine, which never malfunctioned. Gwen and Max find XLR8 and they leave together. At the end, a ninja-like Forever Knight tries to revive Enoch, but is stopped by another knight who decides to leave Enoch to his fate for failing so many times. The knight then vows to finish off the Tennysons himself. Next up, we have the episode Ben Wolf. The episode begins with Max listening to the history of the Indian Dreamcatcher while Ben and Gwen browse around for something interesting. Ben seems bored until a young girl's native dance catches his attention. Gwen is puzzled by Ben's sudden interest in the culture's native ways. The girl is introduced as Kai Green, Wes's granddaughter. Max remembers her as a toddler, and Ben immediately tries to fix his hair to get her attention. Suddenly, the sky darkens, and Gwen wonders if Kai's dance caused it. As they seek shelter from the storm, Ben is too distracted by Kai to notice a lightning bolt hitting the ground nearby, revealing a beastly alien. The alien runs off, and the gang realizes they are in danger. Wes announces a flash flood, and they head for higher ground. Unfortunately, Kai is caught by the strong currents and swept away. Ben tries to transform into Ripjaws to save her, but the Omnitrix fails. Determined to help, Ben jumps onto a barrel and tells Kai to grab his hand. As they drift toward a dangerous wall, they manage to jump and hang on to something, avoiding disaster. Kai thanks Ben and wonders why he's still holding her hand, making him blush. Meanwhile, the alien rips off a satellite receiver on the roof. Wes believes the creature is a Yenaldushi, a Navajo werewolf, and prepares to tranquilize it. Unfortunately, Kai and Gwen can't join them as only Braves are allowed. Ben feels sorry for Kai and tries to cheer her up, while Gwen suspects Ben has a crush on her.
Yes, you like her?
What?
That's it!
Ben denies it at first, but can't hide it from Gwen. Wes tracks the werewolf and they follow its path up a mountain. When they finally spot it scavenging through metal, Wes shoots a tranquilizer, but the werewolf dodges it and attacks them. They fall off the cliff, and Ben tries to transform into Stinkfly, but ends up as Wildvine. Wes is amazed as Wildvine saves them by extending his arms to bring them back to safety. Max has some explaining to do about Ben's transformations.
Yeah, I know.
Wildvine returns to the top and tries to catch the werewolf, but it bites him. The werewolf scratches the Omnitrix, causing it to turn yellow. After the werewolf flees, Wes and Max check on Ben, who is confused by the Omnitrix reaction. They head back home, where Kai asks why people are leaving. Wes explains that they fear the werewolf's return, and with the full moon, it will be more powerful. Later, Ben brags to Kai about using the Omnitrix for good while scratching himself. Suddenly, he starts turning into a bluish hairy creature with pointy ears. Wes reveals that Ben was bitten by the Yenaldushi and will become one unless they stop it. To do so, they must use a spiritual silver pendant and fluids from the Arbol del Matrimonio cactus on the werewolf's heart. As Ben's transformation worsens, he, Max, and Wes set out to find the werewolf. Ben, now in his werewolf form, called Benwolf, howls to locate it. Meanwhile, Gwen and Kai search for the cactus, and Gwen accidentally sits on it.
Up.
They rush back just in time as Benwolf and the werewolf fight. Gwen applies the pendant and cactus fluids, but the werewolf escapes. Benwolf realizes the Omnitrix absorbed the werewolf's DNA, making him part alien werewolf. the group discovers a cave inside a volcano where the werewolf reawakens the volcano. As lava flows toward the village, Ben Wolf helps the group escape, but the Omnitrix times out, reverting him back to Ben. Max rescues him, and they escape just as the cave collapses. The village is saved, but Ben is heartbroken when Kai reveals she only liked him as Ben Wolf because she wanted to tame him.
I figured I could train you, tame you, you know.
Gwen comforts Ben, reminding him that there are other girls out there. And finally, the saddest episode of Ben 10 Classic has to be the series finale, Goodbye and Good Riddance. The episode begins with a group of bad guys dressed as birds who take over an airship. They plan to use it to scare the whole city. One of the birdmen is fighting Wildvine, and Wildvine knocks him down to another level, where Gwen ties him up. Another bird guy tries to blow up the engine room, but Grandpa Max stops him just in time. Wildvine beats the leader and throws the bomb away. Then Wildvine asks Grandpa Max what they're going to do next, and Max says it's time to go home and get ready for school because summer is over.
Get you to school, Ben.
Ben is super sad about it, and when they get back to Bellwood, there's this comic strip scene where a narrator talks about how there are many ways a story can start and end, and that this is one of those stories for Ben. When they arrive at Ben's house, he doesn't want to go back to school. He even says he'd rather quit school and join the police, but Max tells him that he has to keep the Omnitrix a secret, even from his parents. Ben grumbles that the only good thing about school is that Gwen isn't there. Max drops Ben off at his house, and his parents, Sandra and Carl, come out. Ben says goodbye to Gwen and Max, and they drive away in the rust bucket. His parents notice the Omnitrix, but Ben lies and says it's just a watch. His mom tells him to clean his room, so Ben transforms into XLR8 and cleans everything really fast. At dinner, Ben asks for more allowance, but his dad says he has to pick up after his dog too. The next day, his dad asks if he wants to go to work with him, but Ben says no. At school, Ben hears some kids talking about his aliens. Later, he sees Cash and JT, the school bullies, picking on a kid named Jamie. Ben tries to help, but they just throw a milkshake at him. Poor Ben. During gym class, everyone is picked for dodgeball except Ben. Suddenly, the wall explodes. Vilgax's mechadroids come into the school looking for the Omnitrix. Ben runs off and turns into Diamond Head to protect everyone. Cash and JT recognize Diamond Head from some sports thing, but Diamond Head tells them to run while he fights the mechadroids. There are too many of them, but Grandpa Max shows up and helps out. Ben turns back to normal, and Max tells the police that it's bring your grandfather to school day to cover for Ben. Later in the rust bucket, Ben talks to Max about being honest with his dad, but Max just drops him off at home and gives him a box of old stuff. When Ben goes inside, he finds his house wrecked, and Vilgax is holding his dad hostage. Vilgax wants the Omnitrix, and Ben is about to give it to him, but he transforms into Cannonbolt instead. Cannonbolt saves his dad and rolls away with him while Vilgax chases them. Vilgax tells Ben he plans to destroy Bellwood. Cannonbolt rushes through the town with the mechadroids chasing him. The house collapses on Vilgax, and Ben's dad blames Max, but Cannonbolt defends him. The fight continues downtown. Ben, his dad, Max, and Gwen work together to fight off the mechadroids. Ben turns into XLR8 and helps out. Cash and JT are shocked when they see Ben can turn into aliens. Max comes up with a plan, and they lure Vilgax underground and blow him up. Ben reveals to Cash and JT that it was him all along, and he hangs them from a tree as payback for bullying him. The next day at school, everyone respects Ben, but just when things seem normal, Gwen shows up saying she's now attending his school too. And then Dr. Animo shows up with a bunch of mutated animals to attack the school. Ben turns on the Omnitrix, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger. So there you have it, 3 of the saddest episodes in Ben 10 Classic. These episodes show that being a hero isn't just about beating up bad guys. It's also about dealing with scary stuff, making hard choices, and sometimes having to say goodbye to the people or things you really care about. If these episodes made you feel sad too, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more awesome videos about your favorite shows. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.